Okay, well, welcome back to the very last session of App Promotion Summit London 2022. We've had a really great week. We had the biggest ever in-person London event last Thursday, and brilliant to bring everyone together again. All the photos are on Facebook. It was a really fantastic day, and yeah, really enjoyed that. And we've got all the videos on there online in the on-demand tab if you haven't seen them. And we've had a great week of online content this week as well. And very happy to introduce our last speaker because we were hoping to get him actually in person in Berlin, I think, to do this talk. And he was working at Babbel at the time, the language app, and had a really good idea for a talk. And the Omnicom wave kind of hit us, so we weren't able to make that happen. But we're very pleased to be able to get him here today online. So please give it up for the last session of App Promotion Summit London 2022. Please, I'm going to hand you over to Terry Pirelli he's now the CRO consultant.
Thank you, James. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Really happy to be here, and saludos from sunny Spain. Yeah, I've been operating and working across marketing and product and CRO, or conversion rate optimization, for a little over 12 years now. And I just recently launched my own consulting service called The Crowsultant, where I'm offering classes and basically Crow intensive courses for companies for like 1 day or 2 days. So if anybody's interested in that, always happy to talk about that more. But let's get on to it. I'm very happy to be here to share my talk, which I call How to Grow Your Insights Garden. Now, this all happened while I was working as a user insights manager at a company called Holiday Pirates. Holiday Pirates, for those of you who don't know, it's a popular travel blog which is curated by expert travel deal hunters, and they receive millions of visitors from the US and Europe who come to check out the day's top travel deals. Now, at Holiday Pirates, we were struggling with 3 really big overarching issues to understand our users and to take our insights to the next level. The first one, I think a lot of you will be able to relate to, is a lack of qualitative and quantitative insights. Now, a lot of us that work as product managers or marketing managers or UX researchers, designers, etc., we find that we often have too little time, too little capacity, or the insights that we're getting aren't really actionable. The second problem that we were facing, and a lot of other companies too, is that we didn't have a direct channel to our most important users. Or even worse, you don't know who your most important users actually are. So we're often relying on these third-party advertising tools like Facebook and Google, which are essentially a black box, and we know very little what's going behind their algorithms. On top of that, we're paying out the butt just to get a fraction of those users to engage with us in a more meaningful way. And that makes our qual and quant insights more expensive, more out of reach, and more questionable. The third problem is that if we do manage to collect good qual and quant insights, we find that it's really difficult to effectively link these 2 components together to get a more rounded understanding of who our customers really are. So we were struggling to deal with all 3 of these issues. And on top of that, users didn't have much reason to create an account with us. So we couldn't rely on email as much to get that direct channel and to reach out to people in a more affordable way. And this was a really hard time for us. But enter the insights garden. So this was by far the most effective way that I found at addressing those 3 problems, while is simultaneously creating a reason for users to engage with us on a much deeper level. And what surprised us was that it had really positive impacts around other areas of the business. It effectively reduced our user research costs to almost nothing. We got some really solid, reliable, and actionable insights that coincided with an improvement in our A/B tests, our success rate along there, and as well to get more buy-in for user research and conversion research throughout the company. And it helped us to connect our qual and quant in a very new and innovative way, which I'm excited to share with you. So all of this actually came about due to one beautiful golden question. Now, that golden question was a survey question. And what it did was it was basically the seed that sprouted into a full-blown insights garden. And that golden question is going to be revealed shortly. Ha. So our talk today is organized into 5 chapters, and it's designed to guide you through step by step exactly how we did this. So we're going to start with the planning. That's the what are we talking about? Why would we do this? Who do you need? Then we're going to talk about how we use a top-notch survey with this golden question as the quality soil and the foundation to grow our insights from. Then we're going to get onto a brief bit on tending to our garden, which is about segmenting, maintaining, and organizing it. Then the tastiest part, which is the harvest. This is how we're going to actually take these insights and leverage them across lots of different business use cases, from better user research to stronger retention hypotheses and everything in between. And then last but not least, for those medium or larger companies that have a bit more at their disposal, we're going to talk about how to mix the ingredients together to scale this up into a full-fledged culinary masterpiece. So, fair warning to all of you, there are some very, very corny jokes ahead. I apologize in advance, but let us begin. So the planning. What are we talking about? Why would we do this? And who do we actually need to carry it out? An insights garden, what is it? Let's get on the same page here. An insights garden is an in-house database, meaning you own that data. It consists of brand-aware users or existing customers that you can pull from to get insights, and which is providing the stepping stones to, again, better connect our qualitative and our quantitative data. More commonly around this area of user research are paid panels, and this is when we outsource this to a third-party company and we pay per test participant for our user research. So here's an example from UserZoom Validately, where we pay $15 per response to use some of the panelists to participate in the research, and we can select them based on some demographic things. But again, it's kind of a black box. You don't know who these users are or if they're actually going to be representative of your true audience. So why would we bother doing this? It's kind of the same reason why a lot of people decide to grow their own food instead of going to the supermarket. So the supermarket can be easy and convenient and quick, but the quality that you get is often questionable. The bottom line here is that your insights garden can replace your paid panels, but your paid panels can't replace your insights garden. And we're going to see throughout this talk just how far beyond a paid panel this actually goes. And who do we need to do this? You'll be surprised you don't need a massive team. It was actually just myself and one other person who were working part-time on this. But there's 3 roles we want to fill. The first one is the researcher, the insight master, who's going to be responsible for administering the survey, collecting insights, and then providing those insights to the different stakeholders. There's the marketer, who's going to be responsible once we have our database to reach out to people in this database to participate in research or for certain business questions. And ideally, the marketer is also managing any incentives that we have for people to participate. And last but not least is the database manager, who's going to be responsible for tracking sendouts, making sure that this is all hosted safely on a private server, and that we're keeping up with our compliance with GDPR in Europe and our California Consumer Protection Act in the States, for example. The last thing we want, after all, is a data leak. Now, let's get into the fun part, the quality soil, and how we're going to use our survey to build a really strong foundation here. Our first step is to build a global survey. I put global in parentheses because if you're operating in multiple markets, you should do this across all of them. Share the love, don't play favorites. And for us, we used a tool called SurveyMonkey, but there's lots of different ones out there. You're going to want to then promote this survey to your existing users. And then we're going to do a little cleanup, segment, and storing into our garden. So for the survey itself, which questions do you want to ask? We had quite a long survey. It was about 27 questions, and we had a mix of demographic questions. These are things like age, gender, household income, zip code. We had psychographic questions were things like hobbies and interests. Attitudinal questions, these are things like customer satisfaction, or one of my favorites, what's one thing that you would change about our product or service? We had brand related questions like how would you describe our product or service to a friend? General behavior questions. For our case in travel, these are things like how many trips do you take per year, or what kind of traveler are you, like a budget person or a luxury person? We had buying behavior questions. These were things like how long do you typically need to plan before booking a holiday? We had channel related questions with things like how do you want to receive awesome travel deals, or are you subscribed to any of our channels? And lastly, but certainly not least, usage and frequency questions were things like how often are you using our service? Now, from this point, really important, a lot of people skip this step. You want to make sure that every question that you have on your survey has a specific and documented function. And that could be either to answer an important business question, to become part of a new metric that you want to track, or to create a new segment of users. For example, for us, we created the segment loyal users based on how people answered the usage and frequency questions. So based on how they answered how long they've been using Holiday Pirates for, how many trips they've booked with us, and how often they still come back to our website. Based on how they answered those three questions, we created the segment loyal users, and we were able to track that over time because we repeated the survey every quarter with the same questions so that we could see the trends and track our loyal user rate. And now, the moment has come to reveal what is the golden question. This was the heat of the meat, and our golden question was, can we contact you for opportunities to participate in future studies? And I know what you're asking yourself, Terry, why the hell is this the golden question? Little anticlimactic, no? But I'll tell you, it's because these lovely people are going to be the seeds in our insights garden. This is going to be the one survey filter to rule them all. And we were so surprised at how positive of a response we actually had across our top markets in Europe and the US. We saw around 60% or so of people opting in to participate in more studies. And then, of course, for compliance reasons, depending on your product, your industry, and the locales you're working in, you want to just let people know and be transparent about how you're going to contact them. Then right below, we ask people to enter their valid email address. We put a lot of emphasis on the valid part because we obviously want to get quality responses here and not bunk emails. So because we were raffling off a voucher, we made sure that people entered a valid email address in order to participate in this chance to win. And even more importantly, we highlighted that if you have an account with us, be sure to use the email address associated with your account. Why? Because that email address is going to be the connector point between our survey data and all of our other backend analytics data that we're going to see later in the talk. Awesome. The questions are written. We're going to start translating them, make sure that everything is on par, that everybody's happy with it. And because the point is we don't want to touch this survey for a long time. So you want to make sure you take the time to get stakeholder buy-in. Ask people to speak now or forever hold their peace. Great. Our questions are written, our survey's done, everybody's happy. Let's get it out there to our existing users. We're going to start with an incentive. So ideally, this is something on brand. If you own your own product or service that you're selling, try to keep it on brand if you can. And we're going to get this out through multiple channels that our users are at least aware of our brand or that they know us, right? So these are things like on your website, on your homepage or your home screen in the app, through social media pages, through your own CRM database, or through app notifications directly while people are using your app. As a pro tip here, try to add your brand touch. So this is a community that you're trying to create. This isn't a regular campaign or anything like that. And what we did was our brand team made a mad scientist version of our parrot logo Ruby that you can see there. And our mad science Ruby was front and center in all of our promotions when we tried to get participants to join in the survey. Awesome. The results are coming in. It's looking good. Now we're going to export all of that over to a database or Excel, for example. And I recommend that you also add in a column to keep track of where these people came from, like Facebook paid push 1, for example. And we're going to do a little cleanup now. So we're going to first remove what I call the NAs. These are duplicate responses or people who answered the survey too fast. In tools like SurveyMonkey, you have a start timestamp and an end timestamp. And if people complete your 8-minute survey in 2 minutes, you can assume that they were probably clicking through as fast as possible to participate in and try to win the raffle. Next, we're going to filter to create the segments that we predefined before when we wrote our questions. So as a good rule of thumb, after you apply 2 levels of filters, you want to try to keep to at least 30 responses in order to draw conclusions. So let's say that we were interested in the segment couples that fly. So we would apply the filter of people that traveled in pairs and people that were most interested in flight deals. And then after applying those 2 filters, we want to make sure that we had at least 30 responses in any of the other questions that we cross-checked in order to draw conclusions about that. Then we're going to share and report on our new metrics throughout the company, like our loyal user rate. And we're going to export all of the yes people from our golden question over to the Insights Garden. Awesome. Our garden is looking nice. It's well underway. I recommend at this point, since you have a new database now of people that said yes to the golden question, that you add another column where you're keeping track of your sendouts, because you don't want to be spamming and annoying people constantly, right? And your Insights Garden should start to look something like this, where we have the user email, sales, age, a usage score, which we calculated from the usage and frequency questions, their top product category they're interested in, whether they subscribe to some channel, a budget group that they fall under, and if they participated in UX research. If so, what was the corresponding study ID? So this cost us about 3,000 euros in vouchers. We did it in 10 markets in the EU and the US. It took us 2 months to build and complete our first round, and then 1 month to complete each additional round. Again, we repeated this on a quarterly basis to keep track of those trends. And now I will ask you, the audience, how many valid users do you think we got in our Insights Garden? So that said yes to the golden question, that after our whole cleanup, how many people do you think we got? I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to see, but I'm going to try to open the chat here. Any guesses? All right. I can't actually see the full chat, so I'm assuming some things are in there. We managed to get over 85,000 people. This was awesome. We were amazed at how easy this was to actually build up. And the most beautiful part of it was around 90% of those people were new, in the sense that we didn't have an email address on account for them before. And what that means is that, again, like, because this is no regular email database, right? These are qualified users who we already have a nice mix of qual and quant insights just from writing a good survey. And they've agreed to be contacted in the future, meaning we've established a direct channel with them, and we can reach out to them for further insights and research pretty much for free. Awesome. So let's talk about now how we actually then leverage this Insights Garden across some different business use cases. Oh, baby, things are getting hot. This is where we connect our research to our business needs. And I'm going to just share with you a few examples of how this Insights Garden really flourished for us at Holiday Pirates. Firstly, it helped lead to a rebranding project where we wanted to understand how is our brand perceived in positioning with other competition. We could reach out to people directly in the Insights Garden to see how they compared us to other competitors and things like this. It helped us understand questions like, why don't older users buy from us? So from our analytics data, we saw that people over 65, 60 years old weren't purchasing with us. So we could just filter for these people in our Insights Garden, reach out to them directly through focus groups, through customer interviews, and understand their pain points so we could address them, which empowered our acquisition strategy. As I said before, it coincided with an increase in our A/B test success rate because we believed that we were getting better quality hypotheses because we had better quality research. It also fueled the way for our aha moment. So this is the moment when your users are engaged with you, they're loyal to you, they're sharing with their friends about your brand. And it's a difficult thing for most companies to figure out. How did we do it? We looked at our loyal user segment. We reached out to them directly via customer interviews, and we tried to understand what was it about our product or service, the experience that they had with our product or service that led them to be so engaged with our product. Out of that came some awesome user testimonies because these are our happiest customers, right? And we could use those user testimonies as social proof on our website. And the biggest use case, I would say, was around design and prototype research. And this is just because we could basically check our design ideas, our A/B test ideas and things, and pre-validate them with people in the Insights Garden before maybe spending months building and testing something that might not work. Are we done now? Well, let's see. We've managed to collect some really actionable qual and quant insights. We now have a direct channel to our most relevant audience. We've pretty much eliminated all of our research costs, and we've provided value to many areas around the business. But we still have this last question, our third problem about how to connect our qual and our quant in this deeper, more meaningful way. And that gets us on to our final chapter, mixing the ingredients together. And which ingredients we're going to be mixing is our survey data with our analytics data or our backend data. This is going to help us answer questions like, how can we personalize our offering to maximize revenue or engagement? Which user attributes are most predictive for conversion? And even to understand, why did my A/B test fail? So how do we do this? Introducing to you all the Consultant Insights Garden pipeline. So I am by no means a data scientist. This is a very dumbed down version of a data flow. The point's not to be technical. It's just to illustrate how this works for how this could work in concept and in theory, and then you can apply it to your own setup. So we start with our global survey data, and we're going to send this over to and store it in some backend table, like in our data warehouse, for example, and already share this over to our reporting dashboard, for example, Tableau or Data Studio, wherever you do your reporting. And we're going to do a lookup function for the user email from our golden question in the survey and the user email that we have on file for people in our backend to connect these points together. Most likely, your backend data is already being shared in some capacity on your reporting dashboard. So from here, you can already start to make some really cool reports and insights combining both your survey and your backend data. Keep in mind that your sample size is important here, and you might have to run the survey a few rounds until you have enough people to draw conclusions when combining these two things. Optionally, if email is a big channel for you, and in most cases it should be, we can also, with consent of people, make really meaningful segments in our CRM database, in a Marcis or Optivo, which are either based on our survey data, on our backend data, or again, a combination of both of these things. Then to take it one step further, if we create an API which tags people with certain user attributes, again, either based on our survey data, our backend data, or both. This is going to pave the way for front-end personalization and start to look into machine learning. So let's just hone in on this personalization buzzword really quickly. Just to give a basic example, imagine John comes to our website and our API tags John as a budget traveler based on the survey data, as having a high visit rate based on the last 14-day session data. And so we're going to display to John experience X, popular deals under $200. Now, personalization, machine learning, they sound great, but they're big, big, big monsters to tackle. And you can go in a million different directions, right? So as a tip, I also suggest that you try to pre-validate some of those ideas before going down a rabbit hole with people in your insights garden to help steer and give you direction as you go into those bigger, more longer lasting projects, let's say. And that's it. That's all I have for you. So these are just a few examples of how the Insights Garden can give you increased confidence, more reliable insights, and take your whole user understanding to the next level. Don't be surprised if after you do this, your boss or your CEO or your top client, they come running to you from across the meadow and they shout out, "I heard it was you. I heard it was you that built up this Insights Garden. It's been a game changer. Thank you so much." And you're going to look back coy and proud with a cool smile and say, "Hey, it's no big deal." Thank you all very much. Really happy to be here. If anybody is interested in taking part in some of these trainings that I'm doing, go to theconsultant.com. They are also filled with terrible jokes, but the trainings are awesome, and also more than happy to connect on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Terry. That was great. Yeah, I'm not too keen on your jokes, but Emma Bagnall from Driving Test Success app, which is a great app, I think frequently in the top chart in the UK, says, "Thank you, Terry. That was a great session," and she apparently loved the corny jokes. So
I appreciate that.
I'm just going to drop your URL in the chat. So what about these sessions you're doing online? What's that all about?
Yeah, so for the consultant, what I'm offering basically are either just normal consulting hours about conversion rate optimization, or I'm actually doing like 1-day intensive courses or 2-day less intensive courses about conversion rate optimization for companies. So whether they're just like starting off and trying to get their optimization programs underway for A/B testing, for user research, or if you already have something a bit more established and you're kind of stuck and not able to scale it up, these trainings are there to help support organizations in doing that.
Great. And a couple of quick questions on the content. The Insights Garden. Who do you think should own this in the business, in the app business? Does it sit with marketing, product, or what places in the past you had customer insight? Not everyone has that as a function. So who should own this and look after it?
Really good question. So of course it depends on your setup. If you do have somebody that's kind of more dedicated to the insight side of things, then it should sit under them. If that's not the case, I personally think it makes a little bit more sense on the product side, just because we saw the biggest value flourish mostly from like prototype and design feedback, right? So before spending months building something, a new feature, or something that you want to test, it's really good that the product managers, for example, have access directly to the most important users so they can pre-validate some of those ideas.
Great. And is this something that smaller apps can use that can't just get 85,000? You're I think examples from Babel, right? Big base. Is it something you would think about setting up at the kind of for sort of startup or app?
Absolutely. So if you're even in the early phases, the point about this is to start getting it going and growing over time, right? Until you have those larger samples enough to draw conclusions directly from it. But the closer you can get to doing that, it's going to provide a lot of value across different areas of the business.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Terry. That was a great end to App Promotion Summit London 2022. Thanks everyone for joining us. I hope this talk will live on it's going to be on demand on the platform. Yeah, so thanks so much, Terry. And yeah, hope to see you potentially in person, maybe in Berlin. Yeah.
Sounds great. Thanks. And thanks everybody for joining.
Thanks for taking part, everyone.